This is the FRC Roundtable, coming to you all the way from Minnesota. Your host team 2052 Nightcrawler presents this weekly FRC gathering where FIRST robotics competition teams take cooperation off the field. Share your knowledge, give and get advice, solve a challenge, or celebrate what makes your team special. 3, 2, 1, go!
Welcome everyone to the FRC Roundtable. My name is Scott Davis. I am a mentor for Team 2052.
And I'm Alonso. I'm a sophomore on media for Team 2052. We would like to welcome you to tonight's FRC Roundtable. Before we get started, we have a few housekeeping notes. The Roundtable is recorded for YouTube, so we'd love to have everyone share their camera, especially when they're talking. We would also like to respect student privacy. So if you are concerned with privacy, feel free to keep your camera off and change the name of your Google Meet session to your first name only or your initials. Participation is voluntary. However, you must be 13 years or older. If you would like more information, you may see our website for more information about the FRC Roundtable, including our complete privacy policy. You can also join our mailing list and sign your team up to be a future Roundtable call or a future host. Finally, be sure to follow our podcast on Spotify.
And moving on to our next segment, we have a new segment on the Roundtable called What's on the Wiki. And if I can figure out how to share my screen here, where is it? Oh my goodness, here we go. This is it. So on the What's on the Wiki, the wiki serves two goals for us. One goal is that we want to share information about how things work on Nightcrawler because we often get a lot of questions about how do we do certain things, and we want to make that more public. And the second thing is that we want to stop making lists on the whiteboard every time we have to pack for something. So whether pack for a competition, pack for a demo, buy things for the summer picnic. And so we want to get that documented in a place where all students and all parents know where to find that. This week, what we're highlighting for What's on the Wiki is our mentor onboarding section. So we've started putting together a section for how we bring new mentors into the program, some of the requirements that we have around being a mentor on Nightcrawler, and some of the general kind of, I guess you could call it recommendations or suggestions for an adult who wants to come in as a new mentor in terms of how they would ease themselves into the program, how they would find a spot to build some knowledge around rather than coming in and expecting to know everything all at once. How do we pick that thing that you can kind of carve out as a place that you can be very helpful and how you would approach those things? And then just some general getting started guidelines, whether you're a build mentor, programming mentor, or a More Than Robots, which is our media group and outreach group mentor, and the kind of things that you might look at to try to get more in-depth knowledge. So if that's interesting to you, you can go to 2052.com/wiki and you can start to explore a wiki. We are planning to add something new to the wiki every week, but this week's wiki topic is the mentor onboarding. Go ahead, Alonso.
Okay, and now onto the show. Tonight's call is hosted by Team 2472, and our topic is Get to Know the Centurions. So everyone, please welcome our guests, and Team 2472, please introduce yourselves. The floor is yours.
Perfect. My name is Andrew Abraham. I'm the current president of our robotics team, and I'm a senior. I've been on the team for 4 years, and I'm presenting with Grace today.
Hi, I'm Grace. I'm also a senior. I've been on the team for 3 years. I am the systems integration engineer, and we'll explain what that is later, but essentially vice president.
Yeah, today we're just going to go over a couple things. Our team history, so where we've been in the past, where we are now, and what led us to be able to conquer that, and then an event that we have coming up and a special deal for you guys regarding that event. And we'll answer questions at the very end.
Yep, so just a basic outline on who we are. We were formed in late 2007, so our rookie year was 2008. 2008, we did pretty well. We won the rookie award. We attended Worlds. We had some successes in those early years. We attended Worlds again later in 2011. And then as we moved on to our mid years, Andrew, go forward. We had some varying levels of success. We were smaller. We had 25 to 30 students per year, not tiny, of course, but also not huge. Our goals at this point in our history were, we wanted to be picked for an alliance. Our goal was not to lead an alliance. It was to make ourselves look good so that we could be picked, so that we could play in the finals at all. That was considered a win. We didn't have our booster club yet. Our interactions with the community were more limited,
So yeah, going into where we are now, we founded our booster club, which has majorly helped us succeed. I will go into more detail on what that looks like. Our last 2 seasons, our 2024 and 2025 seasons, have been the best in our team's history. Last year, we won the first Impact Award, which qualified us for Worlds. And then this year, we were the 3rd Alliance captain at one of our competitions and made it into the finals at our other competition and qualified for states. Not just performance, but our impact on the community has increased. We founded 2 first LEGO League teams, and we take members from our high school team who are willing, and we take about 7-8 people, and we take them and they will mentor at the middle schoolers, just to increase our community outreach. In addition, our team has grown by a lot. So like the slides say, from 30 to 45 team members. Right now, we have 54 students, which is, again, the largest that we've ever had. And these students are some of the most engaged students, like newcomers, we've had.
Yeah, so, we made all this progress. Well, how did we do that? What did that look like? So we're going to break down some of the key points that we believe have or will have a major effect on our success as a team. So, everything from our environment as a team to the breakdown of actually how we organize ourselves and get things done in the first place.
So we pride ourselves in our student-led approach. Ever since our founding, we have been of the criteria that students do everything, and mentors are there just for support positions. This produces a large amount of responsibility onto the leadership because they need to communicate with the team and each other, set goals and create tasks. So we hold elections to elect our president and our 4 primary division captains, which are CAD, business and marketing, build, and programming. Every student in these elections gets 1 vote on a scale of 1 to 10 for each of the different elected positions. And then each student who is running for those divisions, usually there'll be about 2 or 3 people running for each position. They will create campaign presentations and then present on those on one election day, where the voting will happen after. In addition to those elected positions, there are 4 roles appointed by the elected president, which is the drive captain, the safety captain, the scouting leads, as well as the system integrations engineer, which is Grace. They act as the vice president, but they also make sure that the divisions are communicating well with each other. And then we'll go over more of this in detail when we go over how our meetings are structured, but we have a leadership meeting at the end of every session that the leadership will have to attend.
Yeah, so getting in a little bit into how we structure our meetings, we have a Centurions don't stop mentality. So we find it is easier to keep going all year long than to try and regain momentum after stopping. So we'll stop for maybe 1 to 2 weeks at select points in the year, but we tend to go all year round. Of course, we do slow down. Our summer is more about fun projects, we built a new storage system this year. That was a fun summer project that we were able to get done. We prep training for new students. And then as the preseason rolls around, we pick up a little bit. That's more like 6 hours a week. That's when we're onboarding new students, we're training, we're prepping for build season. But even then, we don't expect a huge time commitment out of our students, because we know that as soon as we hit build season, we go to a minimum of 16 hours a week for all students. And then on top of that, we have supplemental meetings that run Monday, Wednesday, depending on need. Particularly on Wednesdays, we run drive team and auto development practices, typically at the practice field at the Mullen Academy, which we hugely appreciate everybody involved with making that a possibility for us, because it has hugely increased our skill, our driver skill, and our ability to test our autos. So that's fantastic. But we have these meetings structured in such a way because we want to keep going all year long, but we also understand that it is a huge time commitment in the build season. So when we're not in build season, we do kind of want to let our students relax a little bit, but obviously we don't want to lose that momentum. One other thing I want to touch on here, because it is such a huge time commitment, we do have fairly strict grade requirements. Because, like robotics is, as I said, minimum 16 hours a week during the build season. We don't want our students to put robotics over succeeding in school. That's not a good long-term choice. And so we immediately set the requirement that to travel with the team and to miss school for competition days, you must have C- or above in all classes. And then we hold our leaderships to a bit of a higher standard there too. But this is, again, to just make sure that we're not falling behind, particularly as students. And we do tell our students that if they have more than, say, 45 minutes of homework that they'd like to get done, that they should go home and do it there, where they can be more productive instead of at robotics. Yeah, so beyond just the expansion of our team size, we have grown substantially as a team, population-wise, but we also have expanded the scope of our organization as a whole. We've created, as we said earlier, 2 FLO teams, which we mentor through our FRC teams. We have a few coaches that are adults, but everyone else who works with those kids are members of our active members of our team. We also have built up several community education classes that we run throughout the summer. Some of those are full team events. Others are smaller, more 2-3 team members staffing those. But we run those because we're trying to spread awareness about robotics. We're trying to build next generation as we do this. We're getting interest, and we're running. It's the same reason why we're doing those outreach everywhere else, right? We're trying to get people to know about robotics and to know that it's a thing, and it's not just programming, and it's not just build, but it's all of these things that come together. We also have recently built a t-shirt cannon. Thank you to Nightcrawler for that idea, which has really gained some interest in our school. It allows us to have a more flexible outreach plan. Like the issue that we had this past year, where we had our main bot at the state fair, but we had another thing come up that we wanted to partake in. So this gives us more flexibility in that realm. But again, we're really just trying to spread our reach as far as possible. And that has certainly increased over the past 4 or 5 years. So.
All right, now get down and dirty into our agile methodology. So how we organize our meetings and how we get stuff done. So agile is a real world management system. In fact, my sister uses it at Abbott. So it makes us able to run our team less like a club and more like an actual company. It operates in 2-week cycles, which the next slide will go over the exact cycle that we go through. These 2-week cycles, you spread goals for at the start of every 2 weeks. And then you split those goals up into smaller tasks that are meant to be completed once per day. And then the captains will take those tasks and distribute them to each of their students. This allows us to see who is doing what at what time and how long it will take for them to complete said task. It also allows a neat way to visualize tasks, which I will show that later. And as part of this, there's something called the QC, the quality check. So before a task can be marked completed, you need to have a mentor or a captain look it over to make sure that the quality is up to our standard. This is to reduce the impact that mistakes will have, especially if we're trying to get stuff done quickly. A mistake may set us back. So this is just to prevent that. So we use GitHub to organize our tasks, and this is a sample of our CAD task board. So you can see you can split it up into different categories here. You can create the name of the task, and then there's a description underneath it. You can set the status of the task. You can set the priority. You can assign people. And this is a really good way to organize it. You can see in a visual way what needs to get done, what has been done, if there's anything that needs to be QC'd. So yeah, if you haven't made a visual task board like this, our team is greatly impacted by this. It's helped us be so much more productive throughout the build season. All right, so this is what our 2-week schedule will look like. So the first Monday is the division task creation, where the division captains take the sprint goals given at the sprint planning meeting, which is at the end of the week, and make tasks to split up into their members in their division. That's what the division scrum is for. That's to go over what tasks each student will be completing on that day. And then at the end of the days, there's the leadership meeting where all the leadership gather together and they go over what they accomplished today, what their division accomplished today, if they have any blocks that they need to have addressed. So say if Bill is waiting on a CAD model to be finished, that can be brought up in the leadership meeting. And then we're able to address that and be aware that that's something that needs to be prioritized. And we hold our leadership accountable to our sprint goals during that leadership meeting to make sure that they're keeping their division on track and that we're going to complete those goals. So the next Thursday and the next Monday are the same thing, where we give out the tasks at the start of the meeting, and at the end of the meeting, we go over everything. And then our last Thursday is a bit special. This is our retrospective day. So you will still have the same handing out the tasks at the start of the meeting, but at the very end of the meeting, we first do our division retro. So each of the captains will spend 30 minutes and go with their division into into a room, and they talk about what they liked, what they didn't like, and what they want to continue doing the next 2 weeks. We call this the start, stop, continue. It allows the leadership to kind of be held accountable and to know what their division needs. So say if their division is struggling with the way a mentor is behaving, like they'd want less mentor involvement, that can be brought up in the meeting. Let's say that they're having trouble keeping on task, that can be brought up in that meeting. Or let's say that training went really well, then that's a success that can be brought up in that division retro. At the team retro, all of the leadership that met with their divisions will go up and present to the entire team the start, stop, and continues that they've generated. And then the president and the systems integration engineer will write that down into a Google Doc. And we are able to then analyze to see if they've taken the things that their division wants and actually addressed that and made those changes. As part of that team retro, we also kind of show off a little bit. So each division can show off one thing that they did in the past 2 weeks. Like say our build team showed off our t-shirt bot last sprint because we were able to finish that. That's another way to hold our divisions accountable, because if you don't get anything done, you have nothing to show off. Then at the very end of that day, we have sprint planning, which we will look at the next 2 weeks and decide what each division wants to accomplish. It can be pretty hard to ensure that the goals we set are realistic, but that's something that takes time and that's something that we're working on. So this is why we implement this during the preseason so that it is ready to go to fire at full cylinders during the build season.
Another thing that we've been recently working on in the last 2 or 3 years is we're restructuring some of our divisions because we've encountered some issues that we're now course correcting on. So we, I think 2-ish years ago now, switched our media team to our business and marketing team. This was because the title of media was not encompassing what business and marketing was completing at the time. They were finance, they were safety, they were social media, all of these factors which came together. And so we believe that not only was the name inaccurate, but it was also it didn't have the weight of how important those people are to our team. So we wanted to re-emphasize this. We did some restructuring there. Wanted to make sure that we had, because there is both creativity to it, but the more financial side of it is more decision based. There's some complexity there that we wanted to address. We also just this year is our first year doing this. We have consolidated our mechanical and electrical team into a single build division. This was because we found that there was significant overlap between the divisions, and we believe that it was no less efficient to have all of them under one person rather than under two. We had found that there was some confusion there, and it was much easier to clarify. Also, most of the people who worked in electrical were certainly just as competent in the more mechanical side of things. So we just combined the two. That has been going great so far. We'll see just how much that affects us in the future, but. And then the third thing we've done recently is we did introduce the systems integration engineer. I am the second systems integration engineer. We made this position because we were having trouble with miscommunication and separation between divisions. There was it was a situation of, okay, so build needs a CAD model done and the CAD model is done, but build doesn't know that it's done. And there's a disconnect there. So my role on the team is to address that disconnect and ensure that everybody knows what's going on in all places at all times. So my entire job on the team is to communicate and make sure other people are communicating. This has been going great so far. It's particularly nice because it gives the presence of a secondary leader. Like I can act as vice president if Andrew is out of reach, but my primary purpose is just to make sure that the things that Andrew wants done are getting done, which just gives him some extra support, which is has been working out great. The other two things that we've been working on is we're redefining the requirements and the structure that comes with being both a mentor and a student leader. So we've had some unwritten rules for a long time, such as like to be president, you need to have another leadership role prior to being president, but that was not written anywhere. And the same thing goes for our coaches and mentors. So we have structured that more. We have expectations for both of those groups. We have defined the responsibilities and the requirements for both of those roles. So that has also proved to be convenient if we encounter any issues with anybody. So that's been pretty good too.
So we have put a heavy emphasis on training this year. Like Grace said, during the summer, we prioritized making new training programs that we hope that the future team will continue to use and improve on. Because before it was just like, okay, just throw them into the mess and hope they turn out on the other end good students, right? So we're hoping that a more quantitative measurement style of training will help us. So for example, our programming team implemented modules that each student can do about one module per day. So a module would look like learning how to drive a motor. That would be one module. It allows us to track each student's progress and see if any are falling behind, if they need additional help, or to know what level of knowledge that their students are at, so that we can give them tasks that they're able to accomplish. Along those veins, CAD has something similar. CAD is like milestone projects. So for example, one of them is designing a chassis. That shows the student's skills in jointing and sketching. So again, we're able to assign them tasks that work with those skills that they've shown they know. In addition to setting out more quantitative measurements, this is our first year doing the mini trials, and already we have seen massive improvements. The students are much more engaged when there's an actual competition happening, we've seen. And there's a little bit of stress factor behind it. But they are able to, they find it a lot more fun to learn these skills in a way that is actually like beneficial to the team, instead of just learning it for the sake of learning the skills. So our mini trials thing is completely up to the new members to do. The veteran members all take a step back. The mentors all take a step back, and just look at the new members and how they are able to complete things. So we still organize it, but they do all of the grunt work, all of the design, all of the prototyping, and all of the building. So we don't look at the mini trials as a like competitive competition. For us, it's competitive learning, as that's how we view. That's how we view it. We also cross-train CAD and build teams because they share a lot of knowledge overlap. So if a CAD person doesn't know what a washer is, they aren't going to be a very good CAD person. On our team, we also implement the learn what you want to mindset. So any team member, regardless of division, let's say the business and marketing wants to learn how to 3D print, then we'll take them and teach them how to 3D print, because that's the goal of robotics, in our opinion, is to teach students STEM. So whatever they want to learn, we'll be there to teach them.
Another major thing that we cannot forget to mention is our fantastic booster club. Our president, Stacy Foreman, is actually on the call with us, so big shout out to her. Our booster club is relatively new. It's only about 4 or 5 years old. They support us year round. They have, they do their own elections. They run kind of separately, but in tandem with our team. They cover our finances. They cover event meals, building field elements. They have a fantastic team of parent volunteers alongside their elected members. Alongside that, they organize our team meals. We eat meals as a team 3 times a week during build season. So they set up a sign-up sheet, and the parents of families, sign up to provide food on a given day for the entire team. So they organize that, which is fantastic. They support they support student and adult leadership by working with us instead of for us. So we need to collaborate with them, and we need to. It is an important thing to be able to understand that money doesn't grow on trees, and so our student leadership need to understand that there are financial decisions to be made in robotics, and robots are not cheap. So it is nice to have a more mature outlook on finances, while also allowing a look into what that looks like for our students. It takes a little bit of stress off of our both adult and student leadership, while also allowing us to see that, and it is transparent in that way. Our earning breakdowns, as you can see, we have about 30% corporate sponsors, 40% donations and grants, and then team fundraising and travel fees and merch sales are each about 15%. We truly wouldn't be able to manage this without the help of our fantastic boosters. So another thank you to them. yeah.
Yeah, in addition to our booster or because of our booster club and the fundraising that our business and marketing division does, we are able to reduce our registration cost to only $50 a semester. And that all of this money goes into our schools, that our school is able to provide us with bus transportation, custodial support, administration, stuff like that. We take pride in our partnership with our school. They are so supportive of us, and we heavily appreciate that. They give us access to 6 rooms, a computer lab, several meeting rooms, a machining shop with welding station, CNC, manual mills, everything you would need, like sheet metal stuff. So here's a look at some of our rooms. We have our computer lab, which is where our CAD is hosted, our primary build room, which is where we build the robot. Our main meeting room can be used as our game field setup. And then our machine shop, where we have our mini mills, we have our sheet metal fabrication, manual mills, lathes. Yeah.
And one other thing to note about our support from the school, we they really just help us recruit. Also, they help us push our message. We're able to have our meetings, our new student meetings announced on the intercoms every morning for a week prior to our first day, and they let us have a little time slot at Pet Fest. Like they just do a lot for us as a team, even the small things, and we hugely appreciate it. But it also is like crucial to our operation. The last thing that we really want to hit on here is we pride ourselves and our team prides ourselves in having a very welcoming environment. We accept everyone. Everyone is welcome. We want to make everyone feel included, and we want to respect everyone. We make it a point to make that known, and we don't want to be quiet about that, because that's not something that we need to be quiet about. One of those things that we do to try and facilitate that environment is we have a single meal time for all of our students. We plan our meetings that way. We plan our meetings over meal times during the build season for the express purpose of creating a time where we're not working, where we have time to decompress, but we're still together as a group. Everybody eats at the same time. Coaches, mentors, students, all of us. It's a 30 to 45 minute time frame where we're not knee deep in nuts and bolts, and we can bond. It creates bonds between grades, between divisions, people who would, because we're separated into 6 or 7 different rooms most days. So it's difficult. If you're a build person, you're a world away from the business and marketing team. And so eating together gives us that time, that excuse to bond with each other. And we need that for the culture of our team. The other thing is robotics is supposed to be fun. And when you're knee deep in build season, it can start feeling like a job. And that's what we're trying to avoid. We don't want our members to burn out. We want that environment of it is still a fun club that you're choosing to be part of. So as long as things are safe and respectful and we remain productive, pretty much anything goes. So the picture on the bottom on that slide is what we like to affectionately call CAD therapy. When we do our division retros, CAD has decided that they would like to turn that into a therapy session where they can air their grievances and discuss their qualms and their issues. So we also have, CAD is threatening to go bowling. They haven't done that yet, but they're trying. We have team playlists, all of these things we do to build a community that is welcoming and respectful and fun for all of our members. All right, to bring our presentation to a close, we would like to, not so subtly shout out the event that we're hosting in a few weeks. We have our Centennial Robotics Celebration. It's going to be a robot themed party for 3 hours in the morning, 10 to 1 on November 1st. We're going to run a little look-see into what we do as a team, how we exist. you are totally welcome to come check that out. But the real thing we want to pitch to you is our Centennial Robotics Puzzle Competition, which we are running from 1 to 3 p.m. on that day. Generally, it's a 500-piece jigsaw puzzle. You get a large 1-topping pizza, and drinks are included in that fee. And you get to keep the puzzle. You got to build the puzzle, eat the pizza. Whoever does that fastest wins. You get a little something for that. We do have a fee of $100, but we have a fantastic donor who is willing to cover half of that fee for any team with an active first student mentor or coach, as long as you register by Wednesday, the 22nd. So this Wednesday, we encourage you all to go out. It'd be super fun. We're super pumped to see if we can get anyone from neighboring teams to see if you guys want to come check out how we work, and then a fun event afterwards. But we would be super excited to see you guys out there. So that brings us to the end of our presentation. So if anybody has any questions or comments on anything that you'd like to discuss.
Yeah, so I was wondering, are there any like unspecified or unset criteria that filling a Centurion leadership role would entail? Because you mentioned that this year you were kind of like making it more specified, like what those roles would entail and what you would need to be those. Like you gave an example with the president role being like, it wasn't said, but you did need 1 year as a captain of a different team to be in that role. So I was wondering if there were any unspecified or unsaid criteria that filling a Centurion leadership role would entail that is important to it. Yeah.
So the way that we do it is, when it comes to our captains are far more qualitative in requirements than quantitative. They need to demonstrate how we run elections. We run our presidency elections first, and then about a week later, we run the rest of our elections. We do this because we have our president meet with our candidates for the rest of the positions. And they do this because we want to outline, and we're not going to let people run if we don't think that it's going to be a good choice for them, because it is a lot of responsibility, particularly because we are a student-led approach, right? And they have to communicate, and they have to be present, and they have to cover all of these things. And so we want them to be not only skilled in their division, but also have taken steps to be leaders in their division, even if they're not the leader of their division, things like that. And they need to be reliable, and they need to show up. Attendance is a big deal in this front, because we can't be running around with a chicken with our head cut off. When it comes to our president, that is a little bit more quantitative. We need someone who has not only shown those qualities, but also has a relationship with our mentors and our coaches, and also has been in that role before and is dedicated, like truly dedicated to the team, does these things, et cetera, et cetera. So there's not a ton of like, you must be on the team for 2 years and you must be in a division for 2 years, because we find that backs us into a corner. And when that happens, like, okay, but now you have a brand new, like we brought in, 10 people into CAD last year. And we didn't have someone who had been in the team for 2 years who could take over CAD. So when you set those strict requirements, you set limits for yourself that then you get stuck. So we try and be fairly broad in just, you need to have these traits. You need to show that you're genuinely interested in this position and you're going to put in the effort. And we do have steps to take if someone gets into this role and we find that they're not suitable for it. But we try and minimize that possibility just by setting it up in such a way where we're not going to put someone into power who isn't ready for that.
Yeah, and extending off of that, I was wondering, when you are looking at a specific role, like, is there a trait that you are looking for more than the others? Because they're all important, but let's say a series of people have a bunch of traits. Some of them specify are specifically good with different things. Like maybe someone is more reliable, but a different person has more knowledge in a specific thing. Is there something that you're looking for more in a leader?
I think
yeah.
an important clarification to make is that half of our roles are elected. So as long as they get past the initial screening of the president, then they're able to run for that position, and then it's up to popular votes to see who wins.
Yeah, and
for the elected positions, we look at like the commitment to the team. I would say is a big one, an ability to stay motivated. Like say for scouting captain, we need someone who is able to stay motivated the entire time because we need that scouting data if we are alliance captain. So it kind of varies per the role that you're choosing. If that makes sense.
Yeah. One more note on that. We did mention it previously, but to clarify, the way that we vote is everybody ranks the candidates on a scale of 1 to 10 based on aptitude. So it's less of like I don't know either of these people very well, let me just pick one. And it's more like, okay, I know this guy will do this job really well. I'm going to give him a 9 out of 10. And then, okay, I don't know this person as well, but I think they could also succeed. Maybe I'll give them a 7 out of 10. And so we do this to prevent like the kind of, I don't know these people, let me guess. While also like if I have two candidates who I think could do the job just as well as one another, maybe I'll rank them the same. And whoever, because if I'm in business marketing and I just don't see the build leadership as much and who's running those kinds of things, then maybe I'll just be like, okay, I think that both of these people would be competent. Let me rate them the same. And then the people who have genuine opinions about this can rate more specifically based on their own thoughts.
I had a couple questions, but I'll just ask one. How would your team, or how does your team deal, like if you had like an extraordinary large amount of interest, but maybe a lesser amount of work or positions that need to be filled on your team? How would your team kind of mitigate that and deal with that? I don't want to call it a problem because having a lot of interest in a robotics team is not a problem, but also there's, a lot of people. So how would your team mitigate that?
So just to clarify, it's if too many people come into our team and we can't support them all. So far we haven't ran into that issue. Again, this is the largest our team has gotten with 54 students, but we are still able to make sure that everyone's supported in that. Any higher, and then we will start to run into problems. But our team is very much like anyone who wants to join can join. We're a no-cut team. So it's definitely hard to prioritize everyone. Because there's not enough tasks to go around sometimes. Like say build season at the start, or like programming at the start. They don't have a robot to program. And let's say there's 10 students on programming. Then there's not going to be a task for every one of them to do. So that's up to the captains to kind of make backup tasks or backlog things that is not necessarily applicable to our current robot, but is still able to do.
The only other thing that we've done in that situation is we have some things that are fairly low. You don't need a ton of skill level to do them. It's very straightforward that we can pull people to complete should there be like, oh, there's 45 minutes left of this meeting. I don't have anything to do. Let me go make buttons. Let me go make bracelets. Let me go help write grants, like that kind of thing. In addition to that, when we get late into the build season, we will send people home if the entire build team doesn't have anything to do today. We're not going to make them stay. They can if they would like to, but we've been going for 2-3 months straight, 16 to 20 hour weeks. People are tired. And if you don't want to stay to do nothing, then you certainly don't have to. And we're respectful of that because it takes a lot of time out of our days, and people have homework and people have school and other activities. So we try and accommodate that as much as possible.
Yeah, that's kind of what we attempt to do during the build season as well, especially. So Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, all of the divisions show up too. But Wednesdays specifically, and sometimes Mondays, there will be division specific practices or multi-division, depends on who needs to be there. So at the start of the build season, it'll be CAD. And it'll be only CAD there, maybe the build captain if they need some questions answered. So that's able to make sure that our CAD process gets done quickly and that we're not wasting, like Grace said, wasting the other division's time. Now later in the season, that Wednesday day will switch over to programming or to build, depending on who needs it.
Can you guys tell me a little bit more about your leadership meeting? So you said that you have a leadership meeting after all of your regular meetings, right? So twice a week in the fall, I assume, and then are you meeting 4 times a week then? Do you have 4 regular meetings during the build season? Is that how that works? 3. Okay. And you're meeting after each of those. Can you tell me who's involved in those meetings and how long do they last? And what does it typically look like?
Yeah, we take the last 15 minutes of our meeting and poll all of the captains. So this includes safety captain and drive team captain and systems integration engineer. Right now, scouting isn't included because that's more of a build season thing. And then all of our elected positions as well. So the president and the 4 main captains. And then all of our mentors, all of our lead mentors come in. So there's a difference between our lead mentors and support mentors. So we have 2 CAD mentors right now. We might be getting 3. I'm not too sure on that. But only the lead mentor will be coming in to that meeting. And then all of the coaches in addition.
Yeah.
Well,
those meetings are structured. We on GitHub we have our Kanban board set up so that we can view tasks in a digestible way. And we can see what needs to happen, what has happened. We go division by division. We discuss what has happened today. What if something was supposed to happen but hasn't quite gotten finished, we'll discuss that. If it's something that can happen at home, maybe it'll be a situation of this is so close to being done that I will finish it up in the next 2 days before our next meeting or something like that. But it's really just to give a breakdown of what happened on a specific day for the knowledge of other divisions, for coaches and mentors, for Andrew and I to just hear in one place at one time what happened on a specific day, so that we can, if we need to make any adjustments on what's going to happen the following days in accordance to that, or who needs to come in on an extra meeting if they're behind. We generally like to pull people in for extra meetings. We tend to leave that up to our student leadership of who's going to come in, how many people you need, what day you're going to come in, how long, that kind of thing. But we don't want to put people who are like, if we're pulling people for an extra meeting, it's because that division is behind on something. We don't want to pull other people in because one division isn't done. We don't want to pull in a different division for that reason. It's, personal management, time management, making sure that you're holding your own team accountable as a leader. And if your team isn't getting something done, then we will have you come in extra, not as a punishment, but as okay, I understand that my team is not up to what we had set. So we're going to address that with an extra meeting.
And in addition, we also make sure that the captains are making tasks that will ensure their sprint goals are completed by the end of the sprint. So these are just an example of what our sprint goals look like. So you can set incomplete, complete. You can set the sprint week that they're assigned to. And then any captain can come in and just set this to complete when they're finished with it. Making sure holding the captains accountable is another big thing about the leadership meeting. Because if you get more done, you have more to show off and you look better in front of your fellow captains. That's kind of like a hidden bonus of it.
So that's generally how that goes. But we really we're already meeting for several hours each night. We don't want to push that any longer than we have to. So we cut 40. We stop our meeting at the 45. We end on the hour. We stop at 45. We'll do our meeting. It usually doesn't go more than 5-10 minutes after the hour, if any. But we don't want to make our leadership stay super late, because if we're going to 8 p.m. already, we don't want to push past that all that much. So we'll have our team clean up at say 5:35. We'll have our meeting at 5:45, and then we are all out of the building by 6:05, 6:10.
Do you guys do a lot of communicating outside of meetings? Do you use Discord or Slack or things like that?
Yeah,
And
we
so
heavily use. Oh, sorry.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
No, you can continue the question.
Well, one of the things I was going to say is that your leadership meeting talks a lot about the task list here, where my experience with leadership meetings at Nightcrawler are about what are we doing in 3 months from now? What events are we preferencing? What do we got to buy? We got invited to this prep rally, or we have this student outreach thing. Who's gonna organize that? A lot of our leadership stuff is looking to head to things in a week or 2 weeks or even in a month. Actually, we don't spend a lot of time in our leadership meeting doing sort of that, what happened today and what's going to happen next week, unless it's something that we need to sort of intervene on, like to your point. So I'm curious, are you also doing those things where you're talking about who's going to get our kit parts, and are we going to opt out of the black tote, and what events are going to preference? Is that happening in these meetings too? Or are you doing that sort of through Discord or Slack or whatever tool you use between meetings?
I actually think that we function pretty much opposite of you. A lot of our more managerial things occur outside of meetings. We do communicate through Discord. It's a very convenient platform for us for our purposes. We have it set so that there's a leadership channel only that leadership can see. We have a president's channel just for the president and the coaches, that kind of thing. But we do that. We do our more managerial stuff outside of meetings, or in a more in a separate meeting with a more condensed group, because we tend to encounter those issues and want to solve them pretty quickly, and we don't want to necessarily wait until the division until the meeting at the end of the day if we can solve that with a smaller group right now, right? Solving problems as they occur. But if something pops up, we tend to cover it on Discord pretty quickly. It also gives us more time if someone is busy, then they can just pop in an hour later, give their 2 cents, and then move on. It's worked out pretty nicely for us. If it's a serious issue, we'll bring it into a meeting. We do cover things quickly at leadership meetings, but again, we don't want them to go on super long. So long-winded discussions generally occur outside of that.
Yeah, in addition, some of our more long-term things are discussed during our sprint planning meeting. So obviously stuff that'll happen in the next 2 weeks, but also if there's any things that the division want to accomplish long-term, then that can be brought into the sprint planning meeting and talk about what that'll look like. It's not just planning for the next 2 weeks, it's also planning for the entire preseason to an extent.
The other thing that we should mention, we do not do those condensed leadership, like we don't do those end of the meeting leadership meetings on retro days. We don't find that it's necessary because we're meeting as a large team anyway. And we have to, during that day is we're going to do a division retro, and we're going to do sprint planning, and we're going to do a big team retro. So there's enough meetings happening on that day where we're all conversing enough where we don't see an issue with not having that focus meeting at the end of the meeting.
Yeah, Alonzo?
Yeah, so I was wondering, you mentioned that you guys have like 16-hour weeks usually. Is there a like reason why you chose to have such long meetings as opposed to a series of short meetings? Like less longer meetings as opposed to a series of short meetings? And furthermore, just like what do you do when you have this like huge chunk of time, but there's only so many assignments that you have to get done?
Andrew, did you want to take that?
Yeah, I can talk about it. The long meetings are for a couple reasons. One, like we talked about, it's so that they can reach over into dinner time, because that's such an important team bonding experience. Just being able to eat with your friends and like to take a mental break as well. Um, we've seen it actually like drives our productivity up. It can be sometimes um, interruptive, like if someone's trying to get something done and then the dinner happens, then it can kind of sidetrack from that, but there's time after dinner as well to finish that task, as well as dinner. Having less meetings on more days can allow people to do other stuff other than robotics. So if they have work that they need to get a schedule a certain amount of days per week, it's much easier to do that when you don't have robotics at all on that day. And then if you have like say 5 days a week of robotics after school.
We run our meetings. It was on the slide, but we didn't read it off. We run our meetings on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. We have a meeting on Saturday from 9 to 3. It's early enough in the day where it's not impeding your entire night, but it is still 6 hours. We still have a meal time in there. We have time that we can, like, it's not a bad day to, if we have to work late, it's not a terrible day to do that. But we found that the longer meetings let us kind of, we still have a break in there with our mealtime, but I think it's easier to pick up where you left off 30 minutes ago than it is to pick up where you left off 18 hours ago. And on top of that, again, like our coaches and mentors already work super hard for us. And the less days that we need to pull them out of their lives because they have busy lives outside of robotics, just like the students do, it makes it's not only better for our students who don't have to plan as much, like getting rides from school and doing all of this stuff, but it's also like we don't have to have a coach at the school every single day, unless of course we have extra meetings. And that's the other thing. We put extra meetings on the days that we don't have robotics, and that wouldn't be as possible if we had robotics every day.
I also had a question regarding your business and marketing team. So you mentioned that it used to be called media and that you switched to that different name because media didn't really encapsulate that. I was wondering, do you guys have or not do you have, but what do you focus on specifically when you're thinking about like promoting your team, like name, label, and like all the things that would fall under like media specifically, and I guess like that marketing aspect of it?
Yeah, so I can take this. My dad is actually the division mentor for our business and marketing team, and the way that they're trying to, we mentioned earlier, we try and run our team more like a small industrial company than we do a club. And so we do genuinely go door to door at businesses and promote ourselves, ask for money. We go on tours at different companies, but the way that we promote ourselves within the school is a lot through our partnership with the school. We do have within business and marketing, we have our social media group who has a schedule and who gets posts out. We have all of the, and this is their busy time of year. They're trying to fundraise for our build season, but we're pushing to we want to be out there as a name, but we also in our own community, we want to be known and recognized as a an influential group in our community. So we take part in every opportunity that is presented to us. We've built enough of a group of people around us who are willing to send those opportunities to us, where we can, we're building relationships with people. And I think that's your question, to me at least, sounded like your question was, how are we getting our name out there? And I think what we're doing is we're trying to make relationships with people so that we don't have to get our name out there as much, because they will bring their things to us. And it's worked out pretty well in the past. But in terms, we still, of course, want to spread our name as much as possible. And when we do that, it's through, we write grants, we go door to door, we do these things to try and augment that.
Yeah, one additional thing that I want to add, I just had it in my mind. Hold on. For recruitment specifically, our physics department in our school has been a huge help to us. So last year or this year, Grace and I went around to every single freshman physics classroom on our first day of school. So at Centennial, our first day of school is only the freshmen. And so we were free to go around to every single one of those classrooms and advertise the robotics team for 5 minutes. And so we have that foothold in the physics department now, that every year we're able to do that. And that drives a huge amount of people that don't even know robotics is a thing. We're able to explain to every freshman what we are and what we stand for. And that they should show up, have snacks, have a fun time. Yeah, Scott.
You had mentioned earlier and right at the beginning what an impact that your nonprofit, your booster club, your nonprofit has made for your team. Can you expand on that a little bit and tell us more about the challenges that solved for you, and maybe some of the structural changes that impacted on the team? I've been fielding questions recently about starting a booster club for another team in the state. And so I think it would be great if you could share some of that experience, because there are a lot of teams out there that don't have a booster club, or they don't have a nonprofit that they work with, that they could see some advantages.
So
yeah, we can't really talk on what it was before, because the booster club was started the year that we joined, I believe, or the year before that we joined. But I can talk about what it looked like after. The help with fundraising, having an adult lens on fundraising, allows us to bring in realistically much more money than students can. In addition, the Booster Club helps us organize our parts ordering, and again, that mature lens on handling the money, handling our other expenditures like FLL and mayhaps FTC is crucial.
Yeah. Just to add to that, our booster club, one of the benefits that we have found of having a booster club is, again, having that adult perspective and capabilities that students just simply do not have, because you either don't have the experience or you legally can't do things. But one thing that I've noticed, I'm one of the people on the team one of the students on the team who is kind of influences what is bought. And it's a much simpler process of, we have a spreadsheet. I ask people what they would like me to get ordered. I fill out the spreadsheet, but I don't have to worry about shipping. I don't have to worry about paying for it. It takes some responsibilities and some complexity away from both our student and our adult leadership, to allow us to focus on other things. It also, they have a fantastic legion of parent volunteers who help build our practice field elements. So we have a group of 3 or 4 parents who get together and they build the field elements on a Sunday night or whatever, and that is organized in part by the booster clubs, and it lets us it takes one more thing off our shoulders that we don't have to deal with as much, and it kind of lightens the load a little bit, and we are still very much student led, and the booster club works in tandem with our organization, but it's nice sometimes to have that separation so that we don't there's some lightening there,
Yeah, having that continuity as well is huge, because students graduate in 4 years, but parents can be around a lot longer than that. So getting the skills and knowledge that it takes time to build up, having that continuity with the parents on the booster club, knowing how to handle our money, knowing how to fundraise and teach everyone how to do that is crucial.
Do you guys have a budget meeting? Do you establish a budget and go through what it costs to travel, what it costs for robot parts, all the things that you need to buy? How involved are the students with that process?
Okay, so you want to talk about?
I would say that our students haven't in the past been super involved with the budgeting side of things. We have been. I think students have been taking a bit more of a stand on the financial side of things now than we have in the past, but at least that I've seen. So like I'm aware of the budget. I work with our booster club when we're ordering things. I'm aware of how much things cost and where we're at budget wise, but I am not the one making the decision on how much money we're spending each year and various things like that.
Yeah, Alonzo.
So I wanted to also, in your presentation, you mentioned that you had a safety team. It was very briefly mentioned I don't even think it was really on the slide where you're talking about sub teams. I could be wrong though, but what does it entail, or like to be on the safety team, or like what does it really do? I ask because Nightcrawler doesn't have like a specified safety team, so this is something that is new to me. So
yeah, we don't have a safety team. It is a safety captain that gets appointed by the president. This person is in charge of creating safety forms for, like, say, if you need to fill out this form in order to know how to use a bandsaw, and then only once you've filled out that form are you qualified enough to be able to use that. And they're also in charge of ensuring that our first aid kit is fully restocked, ensuring that safety glasses are being worn in the build room. And of course, that's everyone's responsibility, but more of the managerial side of that is put into place with the safety captain.
Would the safety captain be on a different sub team as well as being the safety captain?
Yes. So generally speaking, our safety quote unquote division is encompassed by business and marketing. So the way that we like to look at business marketing is it's everything that's not directly building the robot. So safety, like our safety captain right now, is also a member of business and marketing. I wouldn't say that the safety captain must be a member of business and marketing, but the nature of their work is more aligned with what business and marketing tends to do. So they're creating forms. We have a safety manual that we need to make sure is updated. We make sure that all students are aware of the policies of if there is an injury, because we've had that in the past, of what the proper procedure is there, who needs to be notified, what you do if your friend gets hurt and you don't want to panic, right? So we have that set up so that we know what needs to happen. So it's very much like it doesn't need to be more than a one-person job is what we found in the past. It did used to be more of a division, but we've kind of culled that down because we found that while it is incredibly important, it is far more managerial than the rest of the divisions. So it's very much like hey, so-and-so isn't wearing their safety glasses. Can you have a discussion with them about that? Or, hey, this person is being unsafe in this way. Can we make sure that in the future our students know that that's not an okay behavior and why?
Yeah, one additional thing, just to expand on your question of can the safety captain be part of a different division? All of our appointed roles, other than the systems integration engineer, are part of a different team because those appointed roles don't have as much responsibility as a primary captain or the president. They're able to, like, our drive team is on build. Our scouting lead usually comes from CAD because they don't have much stuff to do during the actual competition. So they're just sitting up in the stands and then they're able to scout. So yeah, they're able to participate in other ways other than just their appointed positions.
Mm-hmm. But in addition to our policy on like anyone can learn anything, if you display interest in being a safety captain and you are a member of CAD or you're a member of programming, we're not going to say no to that. It is really just whoever shows interest and who we feel is appropriate for that task.
You also mentioned in your slide about training, you mentioned how you kind of overlap like the CAD and build training, so that there's you can have more effective members. I was wondering, I don't think you mentioned any business and marketing training. I'm kind of curious how that would work on your team.
So our business and marketing division has some slideshows that they have made, specifically for Canva, for poster making, for presentation making, and like how to respond professionally to business emails, how to fundraise properly. Like our business marketing division has made a document that describes how to fundraise, and then they took that and trained the rest of the team on that document. So it's business and marketing is less qualitative of a training exercises as CAD programming build is. So it's harder to kind of track that. So it's more like face-to-face training rather than slideshow training, if that makes sense.
Yeah, we do still think it is important to have a training setup of some kind, because if you're sending people in to ask people for money and they don't know how to go about that, then that is not going to be as fruitful as if you have a group of people who understand what the process is like and what that might look like, and what to do if you get a no, and how to react to that and how to respond to that. So it is important to train on that kind of thing, but it is less quantitative, and it's more a situation of like, we're going to sit you down and discuss it and maybe do a little like back and forth. Let's pretend like, okay, I'm the student and you're the company, and then switch around, that kind of thing. Instead of, here's a module, complete this module.
So another thing I was curious about, and this is kind of getting real specific about the business and marketing sub-team, but I know that Nightcrawler team, we have like a camera lead who kind of trains people on cameras and stuff, and I'm just very curious. I see you have a lot of well-shot photos on your slideshow, and it seems to be well put together. So I was wondering if there's any training specifically on that as well.
We our business marketing team actually was quite small last year, so we're growing that division right now. We got a big influx of new people there. We didn't have the personnel prior to this to have specific leads like that. We have people who like to do camera, to take pictures and all of this stuff, and we have people going around pretty much every build session to record what's happening each day. But that doesn't tend to be a specific person unless one person really, really displays interest in that. And even then, we want to get multiple people experience there. So like, I actually couldn't tell you who took these photos because it was probably 2 or 3 different people. as for the, we have a group of people who likes to do the more creative side of things. We're very much a situation of, if you like doing it, you should do it. And it, we're all for taking turns, but if someone doesn't want to do something and someone else does, then maybe we're not going to say that you have to do something if you're more interested in doing a different aspect of that. So while we don't have specific designated leads, we have people who prefer to do things more than others. So like one of our newer students really likes taking photos, and so if you're looking for the camera, I would go look for him first, right? But I couldn't tell you that that's where it is because we don't have that specific lead set up.
Yeah, and I guess kind of an extension to that, in Nightcrawler, we sometimes have like, I need to find the word. They're recap videos, of like competitions and things, and those help us document our season and kind of what we're doing throughout the season, kind of team dynamic, also help document our progress. And I was wondering, do you guys do anything similar, maybe a recap video or any slideshow or document projects during the season for that sub team that maybe help document kind of your progress throughout the season?
Yeah, that is something that we have never done in our team's history, but that we plan to do. So this year we're putting more and more emphasis into like videography and photography so that we can make a robot reveal video at the start of the year. We have some students who are really passionate in video editing that we just got, and we're hoping to give our robots to them and let them go crazy with the robot reveal video. And yeah, that postseason reflective video is also a really good idea that we might have to start implementing. I think that's a great idea. Yes, yeah.
So you guys have access to some pretty heavy duty industrial fabrication machinery. Who on your team is in charge of teaching the students how to run that? Do you have the tech ed teacher at your school as part of your coaching mentoring staff, or do you have an adult who knows how to run every machine, or is it that you get certified on it through class? How do you get access to these machines as a student?
We do have students who are skilled in those areas. Not as many as we'd like to have, but we're trying to fix that now. Those students who are teaching our other students and who are leading that group have experience outside of robotics or worked with a mentor who is aware of and we do not let our students fly free on the mills, particularly because they don't belong to us. They're not Team 2472s. They are Centennial high schools. So we're cautious about, particularly on the CNCs, about who is running those. We're very clear that if you do not know how to use it, or you haven't been deemed proficient, that you should not be using them. But simultaneously, we do want to gain more people who are capable of those things. So right now there's a lot of focus on teaching our new students about how to use the manual mills, which we have 3 of and we use quite regularly. And on those are also very, very complicated, but they're a little more robust. And so we tend to let our proficient students be more of leaders in that front than we do on our CNCs. But they are large and dangerous and complicated machinery, but they are, like, we don't treat them super specifically different than any other thing that doesn't belong to us. We want to be cautious with all of that machinery, with every piece of equipment that we have that doesn't belong to us, that belongs to the school. And so there is some extra, of course, like safety regulations and limits on who is allowed to be using these things. And if we have machinery that we're not trained in, we absolutely should not be touching it. But we don't want to scare our students either. And we want to encourage that interest and that intrigue in those machines. And so as long as we're going about it in such a safe way and with people who are qualified and who know what they're doing, we tend to be pretty open about that.
Yeah, Dan.
Can I just follow up? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, can I just follow up on Scott's question about the booster club? Some of the challenges we had before, I mean, aside from the things you've already mentioned, like the meals and the hotel rooms, just taking some of that burden off of the coaches. The other thing we had before the booster club was we had real challenges with the getting reimbursed from the school. And it was really difficult, and it took time to order parts, and a lot of times we'd end up with stuff on our own credit cards, and then we'd have to try to get reimbursed, and it was just a real challenge. So I feel like I had to mention that, you know, the Booster Club has really streamlined a lot of that, and we don't have to deal with these accounts at the school anymore. So that's a big one for me.
Yeah, thanks, Dan. Ken.
Sorry. I just wanted to expand a little bit about the CNC mills.
Yep.
And the equipment that we have. So just for your information, Scott, we don't have, we have teachers that will support us, but they're not part of the team. So if we need something, if we need help with something on a CNC or on the any of the equipment in the wood shop, we can reach out to those resources and they'll help us with that. Unfortunately, we lost our machinist this year. He quit. He's retiring and moving off to warmer climates, or he is retired and moving off to warmer climates. So, so we are a little weak in that area right now. We're trying to build that up. One of the things that we're doing within the next couple of weeks is to actually have several mentors work with the actual teachers of the industrial tech teachers to give us some training on it, so we're a little bit more comfortable with some of the stuff. But a lot of times, most of the kids that work on the CNC mills are in the industrial tech classes, so they already have some of that experience. And so it's like Grace says, we're very conscious of making sure that we're doing it safely, we're not damaging the equipment. But on the same, on the same hand, there are times when we have situations where we may damage equipment, and that's kind of expected. They know it, and they know that we'll cover the cost if something gets broken. So we have a really good relationship with with the school in terms of those things. So it's been a real positive for us as a team. I hope that helped.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, let's make a last call here for questions. We're bumping up against 8:30. So does anyone else, I know that the Nightcrawler crew has been asking a lot of questions tonight. Does anyone outside of Nightcrawler have any questions that they want to ask? I'm sure this will be a very popular rewatch on YouTube and the podcast. Our get to know the team ones, I feel like they get a lot of traction. People like to talk about them when I chat with them at events, and I certainly enjoy talking with them. So anyway, last call. Anyone have any final questions? All right. Well, thank you very much, Centurions. Big round of applause here. Thank you so much for coming in and giving us some insight into how you run your team. I think that I certainly learned a lot. I'm very impressed with your process that you've instituted here. I think there's a lot of teams can learn from what you guys have shared tonight, and I look forward to hearing how many people watch the replay and get some tips and tricks from what you've done.
Thank you.
All right, and then moving on to next. Oh, sorry, did you have something you wanted to close with, Grace?
No, I was just we appreciate you giving us the opportunity to reach out here.
Oh, Amanda, go ahead, Amanda. Oh, Amanda just raised hand. By the way, Amanda got her name fixed. She's had such a hard time for so long.
Hi, sorry I was on mute. I just really wanted to throw a last thank you to Andrew and Grace for being so articulate and such an advocate for their team and their process. It was a pleasure to hear such bright and articulate young people leading the way in FRC. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Nick,
With
for
that,
hosting this.
you are welcome. I really appreciate you guys. So, a story for everyone else here. You guys signed up for the spot like in May. You guys are really on the ball to get this spot. So, we really, really appreciate all the folks that have signed up to host the session. It helps me tremendously to know that the spots are filled and I don't have to rush. So, we really appreciate it. And for anyone else who is watching or listening to tonight's episode, we love these sessions. So if you want to come on and tell us about your team, please do. The schedule is full up until January, actually probably until almost the last week of January, the last time I looked, I think. But this get to know my team sessions, these are great sessions to do in April and May. So if you want to go up and snag one of those spots right now, please consider doing that. It can be tricky to fill out those April and May sessions. Everyone's a little burnt out. So this is a great, fun way to fill out the FRC Roundtable sessions, and we really appreciate it for anyone who's interested in doing that. Grace, go ahead.
Sorry, one last thing I did want to mention about that, the deal that we left for you guys at the end. We would love to see any and all of you guys out there. If you have any questions about it, you can email me. My email is gkpeterson0@gmail.com. That deal is open until this Wednesday. We encourage you guys to come out. It'll be super fun, but that's all. Thank you.
All right.
I would also like to say thank you guys so much for being on this episode. I had a great time co-hosting.
All right. Next week, we're going to have another session sponsored by First. There'll be an official First presenter organized by First. So come back for that one. All right. Once again, thank you, everybody. And we will see you next week. Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
That's it for this week's FRC Roundtable. Join us live all season long, every Sunday night. Visit the website at team2052.com/roundtable to sign up for weekly invites. In the meantime, keep building, keep learning, and we'll see you next week.